Never go to bed angry. Probably some of the most common relationship advice out there. I used to believe this advice with my whole heart, and it ended up doing so much damage to my relationship. So let's talk about why this classic advice might be harming your relationship and what you can do instead that creates way more connection instead of less connection. I'm Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention. Diving right in, as we do. And I think that every couple has probably heard this advice. At weddings, we read it in relationship books. We get told this by family and friends. And I mean, let me know in the comments if you've heard it before. Bonus points if you've heard it at your own wedding. I've heard it probably every wedding that I've gone to. This advice is so popular, and I totally get why. Nobody wants to let conflict drag on. It can feel like if we don't resolve things at night, it's never going to get resolved and it's just going to get worse. Or if we go to bed angry, it means there's something bad about our relationship, especially when we hear this advice so much in life. Of course, we would think if we go to bed, we haven't resolved, we're failing at our relationship. And really, who wants to go to bed and lay there angry and awake, especially if your partner is someone who just falls asleep right away? Then you're even more mad, thinking like, do they even care? This can lead to a sleepless night, replaying the argument or the hurt in your brain. It's a lot. But here's what isn't talked about enough. Forcing yourself to resolve those conflicts late at night when you're exhausted and emotional can do so much damage, more damage than going to bed angry. Think about it. When you're tired, your emotional regulation, it's low. So if you've already been arguing, fighting, or even having a challenging conversation for a while already, it's pretty likely that your nervous system is popping off. You're likely in fight, flight, or freeze. So your ability to listen, to empathize, to problem solve, it is hugely compromised. So what could be a short discussion in the morning turns into going around and around in circles into the night. You're feeling less heard, less understood, less appreciated, literally by the second, which means you're getting more and more frustrated. And the next day, now you're not just dealing with the original issue, now you're dealing with the fallout from that whole spiral. I learned this the hard way in my relationship. Years ago, as I've shared, my partner and I used to fight a lot before we broke up. We did get back together, obviously, a partner now. And we would get into arguments before bed. And the thought of going to bed angry for me, it felt awful. I desperately wanted to resolve things, for us to really get each other, to apologize, to say I love you. And I had heard never go to bed angry a billion times. So I thought, we have to figure this out. I also knew from experience that I wouldn't sleep if we didn't figure it out, or if I didn't know that we were going to be connected. But staying caught in the argument with a dysregulated nervous system, no part of us was figuring anything out. The original thing that started the argument, it was long gone. We were just layering piles of hurt on top of that with criticism, defensiveness, bringing up old hurts from the past. And eventually we would obviously get so exhausted that we would just go to bed. But I just laid there awake, literally buzzing. I would not only replay the hurt, his words and mine, but I'd be telling myself, now we're going to wake up. It's going to be awful. We're not going to repair. He's not going to apologize. And it's going to be way more hurt on top of this already. And then we're just going to have to carry on. And at that time in our relationship, there was little to no repair. So I'm not just talking about apologies. I'm talking about chats that were calm and regulated after an argument, the kind where you would really, you're like seeking connection. You want to understand each other. You want to give each other the benefit of the doubt and understand what was under the surface. That was super rare in our relationship. So sure enough, we would wake up. I would feel nauseous and gross because I'd had barely any sleep. And we would often just get into another argument. Usually I would walk down the stairs. I'd be in shutdown mode in like a totally foul mood. I would already be dysregulated from being exhausted. So staying up late to try to avoid going to bed angry, it made things so much worse. And as I always share, we were both adding fuel to the fire. I just mostly talk about my side. Anything I share about my partner, I always ask him, is this okay to share? And the truth is, we were both bringing so many unhealthy patterns to our relationship and hurting each other a lot. So here's what I discovered that completely changed how I saw and handled nighttime conflicts, and it's actually backed by science. Your brain processes emotional experiences during sleep. It's like having a built-in emotional filing system that works best when you give it the space to do its job. So instead of forcing resolution when you're both exhausted and triggered, actually making things worse, here are 3 specific things you can do that will actually strengthen your relationship even when you're going to bed with things unresolved. And again, this doesn't have to be big fights or arguments or blow up things. This can be like really challenging conversations where you're just not coming to a middle ground. So first, I recommend talking to your partner outside of a triggered moment. I love bringing things up that I learned because it's like we get to learn it together. It's less like, I know this thing, you need to know it too, and you need to start doing this. It's more like, I just learned this thing, I want to share it with you. What do you think about this? You can say something like, I just watched a video on that advice, never go to bed when you're angry, and it really made me think. She was talking about how to resolve things before you go to sleep and how that can actually make things worse because people just spiral trying to force it, and how our brains actually process things when we're sleeping, so it can be better to sleep on it and have the conversation after a good sleep when we're regulated. And then be curious with your partner, like asking them, like, what do you think about this? I'm just curious. Second, when you are in one of those late night moments of conflict and you can tell that like this is going there. I know this feeling. Here we go again. Try this. Pausing, taking a deep breath and letting your partner know what you're saying is really important to me. I really want to hear you. I can tell right now that I am too tired to be my best self for you. Can we press pause on this, get some sleep, and talk about it tomorrow? And set a specific time. And just let them know, I don't want this to go away. I do want to talk about this again after we get some sleep. So the key here is really being specific about when you revisit it and actually revisiting it, because this helps your partner know you're not just avoiding the conversation. And the more that you do press pause on things and come back to it, the more evidence you build that, oh, when we press pause, we come back and it goes so much better. This can take time to build up evidence. It can feel really hard to press pause on things when you have evidence from the past that things usually just get swept under the rug. This was huge in my relationship. Over the years, we've collected so much evidence that we do repair well and that we will both be heard, that we'll actually move through and grow through conflicts. So this helps so much with my nervous system, even with small disagreements. And the more evidence that we collected, the easier it was for me to actually fall asleep. This took time. Doing nervous system work inside and outside of the triggered moments helps so much on top of this. The reason we stay awake and spiral is because we're dysregulated. And you can grab my free nervous system regulation techniques in the description box. But truly, it took time to build up this evidence because before that, I would go to sleep and just say what I said, we're not going to figure this out. So then I'd be stressed all night and just ruminating and freaking out. But creating that evidence over time that, oh, we do this, that is what's helpful. But we have to do the thing in order to create the evidence. So number 3, I love creating a nighttime ritual. After breaking up and then getting back together, we were changing patterns that weren't working for us, and we created our own ritual. And I actually completely forgot about this until a couple months ago because I found a little book of lovey things that I had written for him years ago. I'm a words of affirmation girl. And in it, I talked about touching toes in bed. So this memory came back. This is the ritual that we decided on when we went to bed without resolving things. So I'm often saying to couples that I work with, you can be mad at your partner and still love them. Both things can exist. So even a simple toe touch in bed when you're still mad at each other can be enough to settle your nervous system and let it know, we're okay, we're gonna be okay, which can be so helpful if you are someone who stays awake spiraling. So we would literally go to bed, and if we were still arguing, we would shut our eyes, we wouldn't say I love you, we wouldn't even say goodnight, but we would touch toes in bed, and that would be enough to go, we're okay. I know we're gonna be okay. We're just in a state right now where we can't connect because we're so dysregulated. So when my partner and I started using these approaches that I just shared, it really helped. Our conversations the next day were way more productive. I would find that I would wake up and see the argument a lot more clearly. Suddenly I could see his side too, because my nervous system was regulated. We started feeling more and more secure in our relationship because we knew that taking a pause wasn't about avoiding things. It was about caring enough to show up as our best selves for these important conversations. So remember, going to bed angry doesn't mean you're failing at your relationship. It might actually mean that you're wise enough to know when to pause and reset so you can build connection instead of kill connection. And again, this took a long time. This isn't something that just took a couple of weeks. We really had to work at this. We had to create evidence and we had to recommit to our relationship again and again and again. I would love to hear your thoughts or questions in the comments about this advice. Never go to bed angry. I know so often we can hear relationship tips and think, this sounds good, but what if this happens when I try that. But what about this? So if any of that comes up when you're watching, I am so happy to chat about it in the comments. Your intentional action for this week is to notice when you're having any challenging conversation or tense moment in the evening this coming week, if that comes up. Whether it is your partner, a roommate, family member, friend, even responding to a triggering text or an email. Instead of pushing through when you're tired, can you practice saying, "This is important to me. I want to give this the attention it deserves when I'm fresh. I'd like to press pause and come back to this tomorrow," and just see how that feels. And of course, like I'm always saying, we can't guarantee that our partner or whoever is on the receiving end is going to meet this boundary with love, which is so hard. This is a good time for deep breaths, giving so much love to your nervous system as you move through this and create change. And if arguing, fighting, tense conversations that go in circles, if those feel like the norm in your relationship, check out the video on the screen for 5 reasons you keep having the same fights and what to do instead. I got you. Thank you so much for being here. I am sending so much love into your day. Remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's have an intentional week.